Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. I am, of course, your host, CQ. Tonight, we have a guest who truly embodies the spirit of resilience and humor. He's a man who has served our country in the United States Air Force and now serves up laughter as a stand up comedian and speaker. He's the proud owner of Clean Comedy Connection and the charismatic host of the Clean Comedy Matters podcast. His commitment to delivering performances that are both hilarious and positively entertaining has made him a standout in the world of comedy. His debut comedy special, You're Welcome for My Service, is now available on Apple TV and Amazon and YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and a million other places. From his military service to his mission of healing through humor, his journey is inspiring as it is entertaining. He's a veteran, a comedian, a former pastor, and an advocate for veterans. He's none other than the incredible P.T. Bratton. Everybody.
Thank
Woo!
you. Thank you. What's up, man? That was a great intro. I'm like, who's he talking about?
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm absolutely talking about you, man, because, you know, spoiler alert, we've known each other a while now. We've known each other a while, and
Yes.
it has been amazing to watch you grow and watch you continue to build something from in essence what is nothing, from taking what's nothing and then building to it, and to see the incredible heights you've already reached, and knowing like you're nowhere near the top of the mountain, man. You got so much more to go, but we're going to talk about it all. First and foremost, again, for you this is going to be a walk in the park, but we got to know, what's your military connection?
So in my relationship with Uncle Sugar, I I enlisted at the ripe old age of 18 and in the United States Air Force. And I did 10 years in the Air Force. I was law enforcement for those 10 years. My wife would tell you almost 11, but it don't work like that. You can't be rounded up. I know it was 10 years and some months, but it wasn't, they don't work like that. They don't give you benefits based off, they don't round up for your benefits.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, I did 10 years in the Air Force. I was security forces, which is what the other branches call military police. We had to be special, so we called it something. First it was security police, and then it was security forces because they were combining the two. Then I got into investigations, OSI, which is equivalent to CID, NCIS. Well, it's more like NCIS than CID. CID, y'all don't do anything but paperwork, so it's more like NCIS. We almost had a TV show, almost. We were on Wonder Woman, if you remember. OSI was
Really?
Anyway, that's a story for
That's
another
it.
day.
Way to tie in the pop culture reference, by the way. That was phenomenal. Real smooth, real subtle. I liked it. Snuck it in there. Like, I'm a nerd too. I got cred. No, man. So there's so much to unpack there. There's so much to unpack there. Which it always, as an army guy, it always bothered me that they're like, yeah, we're SF, security forces. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
different kind of SF.
Right. Not special forces. Not to be confused with special
Yeah.
forces at all. It was weird, but if you think about it, like I said, on the back end, they just did that so they can pull. They wanted to be able to use the LE troops, which was law enforcement. They wanted to be able to pull them to do security work. So if you put them all under the same umbrella, because before that, it was like LE did, they were the MPs. Like they just did law enforcement, and then you had the security side that did buildings, property, planes, things like that. And they was like, hey, we're missing out on these people. They're like, we can use these people.
Hmm.
But they lied to me. My recruiter lied to me. I'm still looking for him because he told me
No.
that I would be able to, if I go in as security forces, right? Even though I went in like on the security side, he said, oh, you'd be able to do law enforcement as well. No, it didn't work like that. It only flowed one way. It only flowed one way. So
God
unless you went
bless.
in as law enforcement, they were not trying to put you on patrol. It was terrible.
It's like when they were like, yeah, oh, I want to be special forces. Like, yeah, you just go in as a cook, and then it's like a straight track to
Right,
to special
right.
forces, man. You'll be a
But you
black,
don't know anything. I'm 18. I don't know what He telling me, oh, you can. Hey, on post you can study. You can study on post, and I'm like,
Yep.
you can't study on. The
Get your
only thing you
college
can
degree.
study on
Sure.
post is your.
Sure.
We call them CDCs, right? That's your course. I forgot what it stands for now. Development, whatever training. Like that's the only thing that you were allowed to read. Well, you couldn't even read like, uh, pop culture. You can't read magazines. You can't read books. You can't. It was yeah.
Yeah.
They say you can read your technical manual. Who's going to read a technical manual? Who is sitting on post reading a technical manual? Nobody's doing that.
Some of us were forced to read field manuals, man. I still have nightmares of like
Read your
nomenclatures
TO.
and
I mean, get out of here. No.
oh my god. So this is our get to know you portion of the interview here.
Okay.
We're pop culture, which runs a large gamut of everything from movies to TV to video games, toys, what music. I mean, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you geek out about? And I know comedy is going to be the easy answer. So,
Mm-hmm.
outside of comedy, what's the thing you geek out about?
Oh, superheroes. I'm big superhero fan. My boys are too. I got two boys. One's 13. One's 16. I think we're more DC fans than Marvel. No, I mean the characters. We like. I love Green Lantern. My oldest is a Batman fan, and my youngest is a Flash fan. So we're very upset in what they're doing in the DC.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing? Like, Marvel has shown the way, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna do it like that. We're
Yeah.
not. We know better than the fans. We know what they want. No, you don't. You
Yeah.
clearly do not know what. The best movie you've made has been Aquaman, and no one asked for that. No one asked for Aquaman. I just named three, and Aquaman was not in that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I would argue, I think Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, I thought was
Oh,
actually
okay.
pretty well done. I would
Well,
argue.
it aged.
But
It aged. It got better with
yeah.
time. When I first saw it, I was like, it's okay. But no, compared to the second one, it's brilliant.
Compare.
Like, yes, that second one was a dumpster fire. Like,
Oh
what was
gosh.
that?
Yes.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And we could run down this train of thought. I mean, we can have that conversation. Hey, for you and your boys, I respect these. Like, people think, oh, I'm a Marvel fanboy, but I'm like, I just want good stuff. I just want good. I want good quality stuff. And Marvel's doing it right now. But
Yeah.
James Gunn is now leading up DC. They're rebooting the whole thing. We're getting a new Superman. We're getting a whole new world. Fingers crossed. In James Gunn, I believe, we're going to get a new, a whole new regime at DC. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
But I think the problem is at the top, right? Like they do these one-offs and they haven't figured it out. Like if you connect the movies, you can make more money and you can engage your fan base. Again, Marvel showed you how to do it. They did Iron Man, and then they had this cut scene at the end that alluded to, hey, there's more. And then Marvel fans, you go to the movie theater and you stay to the very end because there's going to be a teaser for what's next. And it's like DC, they're doing one-offs. They're like, okay, we're good. And then they do the next one, and it doesn't even connect. Oh, they're in a different universe. Why are they in a different universe? Why are we doing this?
You got
and we
Joker
keep
there,
doing reboots.
Batman over there, and this over there, and yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And
so,
how many more Suicide Squads do we need? I mean, really? Like again,
3 more.
Something we did not ask for that. Like, let's make another Suicide Squad. No, we didn't ask for that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It was better than.
It was
anyway.
Yeah, it was good. So I always like to ask, right? When I bring on actors or directors, which obviously this is something they've been doing a long time, and that's something they knew. You get the answer all the time. Like, oh, I knew I wanted to do this since I was a kid. Knowing that you went into the military, and we'll touch on like kind of how you came to comedy after that, but maybe tell us, what did you think as you're transitioning out of the military? Talk about where do you think you were going? Where do you think the future was taking you? What did you think you were going to be doing, and how that transition into comedy?
Oh yeah. So no transition whatsoever. I I got out of the military. I was only getting out to go to seminary so that I could go back in as a chaplain. That was the plan. So I've been ministering since I was 14. Got licensed to preach at 14. I got ordained at 20. And so that was like the track that I was on. And being in investigations that didn't really align because I'm sitting across the table for somebody who is they've made a mistake. A lot of them, they weren't bad people, they just made some bad choices. And I was like, if I could only get to them before this point, like at this point I can't help you. I can help you get out of the military. That's all I can do at this point. And so I felt a pull and a tug to do more, to help people. So I got out to go to seminary, and then a whole lot of series of events happened, and, I did not wind up going back in as a chaplain. And I actually got laid off from my job. So yeah, comedy found me at a low point, and that's the long and short of it, right? Because as a preacher, I always crack jokes, and my wife's like, in another life, you could be a comedian. So when presented with that opportunity, I went for it and I enjoyed it. I loved it. People laughed. That was important. People laughed, and I was like, "This is great. It's a great feeling to help people. I always want to help people, right? But like this is a way that people want to be helped.
Mm.
Um, Church sometimes they don't want that kind of help unless everything's falling down around them and they've tried everything else. Then they're like, well, let me try God. But laughter, people are more open to like, oh yeah, I need to laugh.
Mm.
So I'm helping people in that way, and I love it, man. I love it. So many people come in bogged down. They're feeling low. I've heard that several times, and they leave the show feeling better. And they're like, I'm so glad I came. I'm like, yo, I'm making the difference.
I think there's a message in there where it's easier to deliver a message kind of maybe disguised as a joke
Mm,
than maybe even like preaching, right? The
hmm
message is a little more on the nose, it's a little more direct, whereas you can kind of Trojan horse that message in as a joke and then let
hmm
people kind of let it hit them when it hits them.
Yep.
And I think that's awesome. That's so awesome. And the again, the comedian in me wanted to make fun of you and just be like, let's see, you went into law enforcement, a preacher, so you just love telling people how they wrong. There's like that's got to be just somewhere in you. You just love people telling people where they're wrong. But anyway,
I was not a good cop. I didn't like that part at all. I
which
didn't.
we're gonna talk about your
Yeah.
stand-up special because you had a bit in there which I really liked about that, and that was awesome. The line of just, I knew I was a bad cop when I pepper sprayed myself.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I almost fell out of my chair. Oh, so good,
Accurate. Accurate. I was not.
so good.
I was not. The next special I'm gonna talk about like how I was not a good preacher. And I was like, you're supposed to like people when you're a pastor. I didn't like people. I didn't like folk. I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was short lived. Like, you mean I can't tell them where to go? They telling me I can't respond.
Mm,
I gotta. No, I was
there you
not cut
go.
out for that.
Um, if you could perform stand-up
Hmm.
for any person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Whew, man,
Mm,
that's a tough one, man.
yeah, it's a thinker.
Uh, I got two at the top of my list. I would definitely want to perform for Dave Chappelle. I would definitely like to. He is one of the goats right now, and to be able to try to make him laugh or have him say, "Oh, that's clever" or "That's funny," that would be a great, great compliment. I think I would also want to perform for Sinbad because Sinbad is that's what I aspire to be, right? So when you look at clean comedians who have done it from sitcoms to movies to I'm sorry. My youngest son
God
is
bless.
distracting me. Y'all pray for me. Um, But no, Sinbad has done it. He has done it from sitcoms to movies to stand up. Have you seen his stand ups? Like he'll
Oh
do like an
yeah,
hour and a half, and it only feel like it's
just
amazing,
blows right by.
amazing. Yeah, and so yeah, those would be the two, and I think that's interesting that I picked those two because one's clean and one's not.
Very not clean. Yes, yes. Let me ask you this, because this is something I've thought about,
Mhm.
and only someone who's performed comedy can really, I think about this and answer it. When you say like, I'd love to perform for someone like Dave Chappelle, you could do really well. And he's like,
Mhm.
man, that was funny. I'm not even gonna try to do a Dave Chappelle. It just slipped out a little bit. But he goes, man, that's funny and that was clever and I loved it. It was great. Or there's the route where it's like he doesn't laugh once,
Mhm.
right? But he's and then was to give you feedback and
Mhm.
really insightful stuff. I mean, would you want to just like in that moment, you have the option, like, do you want to kill it? Where he's just like, nah, that was good. That was great. You're fine. Or do you want to like maybe, again, not like bomb or anything, but just have him give you more of that critical feedback and like, oh, think about this, address this kind of thing. How would you want to go at that?
I feel like it's both because I feel like Dave is the type of person that if you do well, he will be interested in giving you more. You see what I'm saying? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
worth him giving you advice because he sees something in you. So I think it's a little bit of both, right? So like you may not kill it, you may feel like you killed it, but if he's willing to give you advice, that means he saw something. Because he's not going to waste his time and saying something to you if he don't think that you got potential. So I think it's both for that. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I want to give you this second or this opportunity here, a second. Boast a little bit about yourself. Tell the folks at home some of the places you've performed, some of the people you perform with. Like, flex your comedy muscle, your pedigree. Let the people know.
So I never do this, but I was blessed to perform at the White House. I've been at Amazon and Google, a lot of the major comedy clubs. I've worked with some big names. I mean, PJ Walsh, Mike Goodwin. Um, oh,
Name drop,
you see,
baby.
I'm not even. See, it's not fluent, right? Like I can't just be like Like there's a lot of people that name drop. I'm like, oh man, who else I work with? I opened for um, Lord, her name is escaping me now. She was like the first black female writer on SNL. Um, you know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name either, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
It's
I've
gonna
seen her
come to me
perform.
later on.
Yeah.
Sylvia Traymore Morrison. I've worked with Tony Woods. Um, it's you know it's crazy at this point, right? Like I don't really keep track. Um, I do remember the people that I feel like I'm cool with. Like,
Mhm.
okay, but I've graced some great stages and opportunity. The Kennedy Center, the Warner Theater, Open for the Miracles. I'm like, it's been a ride, man. It's been a ride. I can't. Yeah, I'm thankful, and that's one of the things I feel like. Um, you're on the right track when things start dropping on
Mhm.
your path. So like when I see you on your journey here with podcasting and how you've interviewed some really big names, and I'm like, that's how you know you're on the right track when those kind of things drop along your way. And you're like, this is crazy. Like when we were sitting in class together, you probably never even thought that you would be here,
No.
you know what I'm saying? And the people that you've met, and it's crazy. Like we did a show in LA together, a
Mhm.
private show in somebody's backyard. I
Carter
mean, I'll
Bays.
let you
Not that I'm
say the
name
name.
dropping. Carter Bays.
I'll let you say the name of that one, but that was I'm like, who has an amphitheater in his backyard? This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. In between his house and his guest house and the tennis court
Hmm.
and the pool and all that, and then,
Yeah,
amphitheater, it's a whole
yeah.
thing. But man, I couldn't agree. You're one of the most humble guys I know, and that's why I wanted to kind of put you on the spot, just to see you flounder a bit. It's like you could say, man, what a pastor over here. He's like, the Bible says humble. It says, not to brag. Like, come on, man, we're here promoting you. We're here. You're selling yourself. You gotta, we're
I
prostituting you
suck.
out there.
I suck at selling myself. I suck at it.
But think about how. Okay, this is kind of a thought I've had in that there are people that are very good at selling themselves. There are people
Hmm.
that they specialize in how to make opportunities for themselves, not necessarily based on their talent, but by how well they can market themselves. We've seen it. It's out there. I'm not going to name people, but there are people with millions of fans who are just really good at marketing themselves. And then there are people who put in the work and put in the effort and get those opportunities, not necessarily because they're bad at selling themselves. Some people, but they put the work in, they put the effort in, and the opportunities are there because of how good at what they're doing. And
Yeah.
I think that that's a testament to what you're doing and how successful you're being at it and where you continue to grow. Hire yourself a PR person. That's all I'm saying. That's what you need. That's gonna get you to the next level. You need that PR person.
Yeah.
So you served 10 years. We talked about that. Um, how is it that you think, besides material,
Mm.
how's the military? How did that shape your journey into getting into comedy and then onward?
I mean, it was thanks to the boot camp for veterans that's where I got my start, and that it was more than comedy. It introduced me to a community where I felt connected, where I felt like I belonged. Um, when I first separated, I just felt lost in a way, right? Like, where do I fit? Where can I go where people understand my experiences and can relate? Like in the military, we make friends fast. Like you don't have enough time. You're like, hey, you cool? You seem cool. All right, we're gonna be cool. Like that's the level. Outside in the civilian sector, people take years to figure out if they like somebody, and I'm like, nah, we don't have that much time. We like, I'm here, you here, who am I hanging out with? Like, okay, I can hang out with this person, And then the funny thing is, and you know this, you'll PCS, and you'll find them somewhere else down your career, and you'll pick up where you left off. Like, which is the civilians don't understand that. Like, I would like if we were stationed together, and then we get stationed together again, I would just pick up where we left off. We like, hey man, and they don't get that. They're like, hold on, how can you just? That's the military life. It's different. So I think the military really uh, it gave me a sense of purpose. The veteran community being to accept the fact that I'm a vet. Um, I did not retire, and at the time they made it seem like only the people that retired are veterans
Mm.
because they talked about the benefits that they get. Okay, if you're a retiree, that's how they gave the transition assistance. They're like, hey, if you're a retiree, you get this, this, and this, and you got to sign up for this and this. If you're separating, we're going to teach you how to write a resume. I'm like, whoa,
Good
whoa, whoa.
luck.
And I didn't know. I'm like, I'm entitled to the same benefits. Like I get health care. I get, like all these things that they weren't telling me. So I got out and felt like when I wasn't able to go back in, I did feel like I was a failure. I felt like, okay, now I don't fit. I'm not, I did 10 years for nothing. And ASAP really helped me realize, dude, I served. Like, and I didn't just do one tour. Like I served. I put some time in. Like this is, and I could be proud of that. So that was, and I've met so many great people who are like my ride or dies now from that experience. So beyond comedy, it has really enriched my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's. I mean, some of the best people I've met it through ASAP. And I've man, on this show I've talked about ASAP so many times, and I've brought in people, Stephanie and Monica and a bunch of other people to talk and shoot the shit, and great group of people, and I think it's one of those things where it's well, I don't know. We're not gonna go down that path, but it's awesome. They're great. And, it's so many people are doing such good things coming out of it. Look at Dwayne and Monica and all these people that are really getting out there, and Quentin Hardy's going to every comedy festival on the East Coast and West Coast and wherever. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And there was a time where I thought like that was gonna be the life for me. I wanted to do the comedy thing, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and the writing and what I learned, and you'll know this because you're out there, is that, man, outside of that ASAP community, it's not the nicest place to be. Comedy can be real cutthroat, man. It can be real cutthroat. It could be very man eat man. It's ASAP did something so wonderful in that it provided this wonderful community, and it made me fall in love with comedy and performing and all that. But understanding that like that's not the situation around around the comedy. But like you said, it definitely put me on the path to this and loving this and enjoying and getting to talk to people and share passions and talk about the stuff which is all the greatest. But back to you. You having watched you perform for years, watching your stand-up special, which was crazy. It was a weird thing to be like, I know that guy, and he's on like I'm because I was curious. So like I pulled it up on was it on Apple TV, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's there. And then I pulled it up on like Prime Video, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it's there too. And then on YouTube, I'm like, mother, this guy is everywhere. He's out there, and it's so weird. Being like, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy when, like you said, when we're sitting in the class and
how do you think I feel when I look on there and I see myself on that, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like you type in the search, you type your name into a search bar and you pop up on the TV. That's crazy, man.
Have you checked? Are you on IMDb? You got that? Let's.
I don't think it's up yet. Last
time
I checked, it wasn't on there.
So you Googling yourself, ain't you?
Yo,
we all do.
Absolutely. I do have a page, but I don't think the special is listed yet. But
okay. Yep. I see it. Yeah. P.T. Bratton is known for DC Homecoming, Mercy Road, Operation Hilarious, season 1 finale special. I mean, you're there, man. We gotta get that. We got to get that special up there, man, to represent, show the people what it is. So, I think about like the way you kind of commit to bettering yourself both in the comedy world, right? Putting in the hours of the practice and the training and the performing, but then also knowing you personally and seeing how you've grown and changed and evolved through the years. I mean, what is it about it? Because like you said, you have such a proclivity to the positive, the energy, the clean comedy, the laugh it off. Why is it? Where does that come from? What is the need for that?
Well, I mean, one, you kind of hit on it earlier about the comedy scene being different. It's very cliquish. So when you get out there on the economy and you start doing comedy, you realize you may not be accepted in some places and some spaces. So I had the mindset where I'm just going to create my own space, and I pulled some people along with me. Like when Dwayne came through, I was like, hey man, let's do this thing. Let's go. And Nikki Knowles and Nick Baskerville. I was like, let's do some things. I just started pulling people along with me, and we started changing the market, right? So we start showing up in places and creating shows, and then people started noticing us. And so I think part of it is making noise, right? You gotta get out there and make some noise. And then for me, my commitment to offer clean comedy is, I feel like everyone needs to laugh, so why don't we have laughter for everyone? Everyone doesn't want the blue. They don't want, and blue is not just the language, it's also the content. So like if you go to open mic, a lot of it is not cussing, it's just the content. It's the stuff they're talking about that you're like, ugh, it kind of is cringy, right? So people want to go and laugh, and they do that at my shows all the time. Like I'm not bragging, but I'm just like even other comics I bring on my show, people laugh, and everybody they work clean. When you work with me, you work clean, and people leave, and people are busting the gut. They about to pee on themselves, like all the stuff, all the things, all the things. And so it's just a testament. Now there are some people that are like, hey man, if you're not gonna cuss, then they want you to cuss because they cuss, or they want you to talk about the things that are a little more racy. That you can find that anywhere. So that's my stance. You can get that kind of comedy anywhere. It's harder to find good comedy that's clean and funny, because normally clean comedy is corny, and that's the stigma I'm trying to dispel. I'm trying to get rid of that, because people just assume, oh, this is going to be clean, it's going to be corny, you're going to do dad jokes, it's going to be, and there are some of them out there. I wish those people would stop doing comedy. I wish those comedians would stop, because you don't have to, just because you're clean don't mean you can't be funny, you can't talk about things. I mean, I talk about family, I talk about whatever. And I the other night I was on stage and I was talking about my getting a whooping. And I mean, I just went in on how my parents used to, like, it would be abuse today, but it wasn't back then, right? And so after the show, somebody came up to me, they were like, man, you was spot on, man. You had me rolling. And I'm like, so that's an example. Like, you don't, just because you're clean don't mean you can't talk about stuff, and you can't connect with your audience. I do crowd work clean. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I can't do crowd work clean, man. Why? Yes, you can. If you work at it, you can do it. Yeah. It's people. I feel people are lazy, and don't at me. He called me lazy. Yes, you are lazy.
Comedian PC Bratton goes on podcasts and calls all comedians lazy.
Yeah. I mean, come on. That'll help me grow my followers. Haters will look. Numbers is numbers. Isn't that what you were saying?
That's exactly it.
If you get on there and you got a bunch of junk to talk about me, that's just gonna build me up. I'm like, go for it. But I feel like a lot of comedians are lazy. They don't want to create. Okay, yeah. They don't. So that means they don't want to write new jokes. A lot of them get up, they tell the same jokes all the time. So they're not creating. They don't want to create shows. They don't want to produce shows. They don't want. It takes work, right? Like crowd work takes work. Like it's a skill. You got to practice that. You got to. So if you can't do without cursing, keep trying, because you have the vocabulary. We have, like you said, the proclivity. We have so many words in the English language. It's no reason for you to have to resort to just cuss words when there's other words out there that can make people laugh.
Yeah.
And that's so
you're right.
That's where I am. And people can disagree. I'm like, fine, that's your path. I feel like this is my path. And it's working for me. So
and what a way to separate yourself in this day and age where, especially because of the onset of social media and things like TikTok, where everybody's a comedian now. Everybody can get on and record a 30-second clip and it's funny and gets millions of views. What sets like that? I talk about this all the time because I teach a class on podcasting, things like that. And it's like, anybody can do it. You have a phone, you can podcast, right? It's that simple, but it's what separates you from everybody else. It is your perspective. It is your view on life. It is your things. And so to do something like, say, we're going to take comedy and we're going to deliver a comedy, level A, top-notch comedy, but something you could bring your kid to, right? And they might be like, oh my God, but like, it's not going to be, they're not going to have to go to church afterwards,
Right. No, I got Mike, CQ, I'm sorry. CQ, I have two boys who love, my oldest one, I don't know if you can hear him in the background because cackling. Like he loves to laugh. And when I first started, they were too young. But now, they're teenagers. I want them to be able to come and laugh. Laughter is good for them. Like let's act the fool. Like I act the fool around the house. Come see me act the fool on the stage. And I think when you talk about set myself apart, another part about it is, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I guess, if however you want to look at it, black comedy is not clean. So like black comedy is a different kind of comedy, and it's not clean. Like we haven't had black comedians that have been clean since Sinbad and Cosby back in the day. Like name another black comedian that it's taboo. It's not, because it was actually before. If you look at your history, right, clean used to be it, and then blue was taboo.
Right.
So like Richard Pryor and all of those guys, Red Fox, and them doing that kind of stuff was like, ooh, that's the stuff you do in the back room, and that's the, you know, oh my gosh, you know, and because Cosby was like out front, everybody was like, this is comedy, this is comedy. And then the Richard Pryors and the Red Foxes and the Eddie Murphys,
yeah,
they came along and they popularized the blue. So then the black comics doing clean took a back seat. Like you don't see that, like non-existent. Like think about, try to name one.
Got nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't. And so all the young comics are trying to be like, and I love Dave Chappelle. Nothing but love for Dave Chappelle. But every young black comic is trying to be Dave Chappelle. I'm like, you can't be Dave. We already have Dave. You can't be Cat. We already have Cat. You got to be you. You got to figure out who you are and figure out your voice so that you can stand out in this crowd of people that's trying to be the same.
Yeah, there's a comment in the chats that says even Kev on stage went from clean to not clean as a performer. So I mean, it's true. It's true. So I love what you're doing, obviously, and keep doing it because you know you're giving people an opportunity, obviously, to present who they are and to reach an audience that you know. I don't know. I think there's something about it too that just I love the fact that like, oh, you know, I can't see myself going into one of these seedy back bars for open mic night, but knowing ahead of time, like, hey, this is a clean comedy show, right? Because there are those people that like, right? You've seen it where they don't want to sit in the front row. Why? Because the comedian's gonna roast them, and they're like, oh, look at this, fucking, he's got this, and blah, blah, blah. And so they don't want to sit in the front row. But to tell us, hey, no, this is a clean comedy show. Like we're gonna have fun, we're gonna laugh. I think you brought up a great point about bringing your kids to it. Something I've seen and with my own son is that having communication, right? Being able to discuss anything is going to be so vital to their mental health, to them growing into successful adults, is not being afraid to talk about topics. And again, comedy is that Trojan horse that allows us to have the conversations that might otherwise be difficult. You know, talking about relationships, talking about my boss hates my guts and traffic's the worst and all, like, whatever it is. You know, it allows the young people, I feel like such an old fogey when I say that, but it allows the young people to be like, oh, we can talk about this. We can have that conversation. So,
no, I mean, one of my jokes that has gone semi-viral was the Dollar Tree joke. And the history of that, it was written in our van, and I was on the phone with my sister, and my oldest was in the van, and we was just throwing out stuff. We were just riffing, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. I got to write this down." And I started telling it, and now that's something that resonates with a lot of people. And like you said, it came out of a place. I think it does so well because it came out of a real place. It wasn't me trying to make up something, right? So a lot of comics, they feel like they gotta get out there and here's the hot topic. You know what I mean? Like what's trending. I'm gonna talk about what's trending, instead of talking about what's true. Like what's your truth? Like when you get on, if you look at the special, I talked about me. Like everything came from my perspective, how life was affecting me and how I responded, which no one else can do that, right? Anybody can get up there and talk about Trump and Biden, and everyone does, right? But unless I bumped into one of them, and then I have a story that's different. I just stay away from that kind of stuff. I talk about stuff that, hey, this happened to me, and then you'd be surprised how many other people are like, well, that happened to me too. Like I talk about pulling people over and getting pulled over by the cops. Now I happen to be the cop, But people that have been pulled over was like, yes, I can identify. It became a point where we can connect. So that's my approach, right? Like, let me share, and you already hit on it. I got so many lives that I've been fortunate enough to live, right? So a decade in the military in law enforcement, then I got out and I spent like a decade in higher ed. But prior to the military, I was preaching. So I've been preaching for a decade, So it's like preacher, military, higher ed. Like we haven't even touched on that part yet. So,
Mhm.
and then I went to Capitol Hill. I was a legislative director on what? Like, what? Hold on. How does that? Yes, I did time in the legislative branch. It's like, are you serious? Yes. It's a whole different, like, and now I'm teaching stand-up comedy. It's like, what is going on? I've done background action. I've worked on movie sets. I've done background action. So I've done commercials. Like, it's people they call me all the time. You're like, man, I just saw you at Navy Federal. Was that you? I'm like, yeah, that was me. That was so. I mean, all these different lives I've lived. I'm like, I have so much to draw from. Why would I have to get on stage and talk about what everybody else is talking about? Why?
Mm.
Why
Yeah,
would I do that?
you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Um, I'm curious too. Talk a little bit about because we mentioned clean comedy connection and I love to laugh it off. That's just been so awesome since you started it. But also talk about some of the other stuff you do, like the comedy matters, the clean comedy matters podcast.
Yeah, but I'm not on your level, sir. I'm aspiring to be where you. No, I need to bring it back. I get a couple people periodically say, "Hey, man, that podcast was really good. When you going to bring it back?" Because we did one season, and I
Hmm.
was like, and this other stuff started picking up, like traveling and performing, and I was like, man, I can't. I don't have an assistant, so it was me scheduling people, and you know how you do it. You gotta it's a
It's a
lot
lot.
of behind the scenes that go
Yes,
into
it
that.
is.
But it was great. You know how it feels to get on and talk with somebody. You have these great conversations, and I think that's why it was so well received. Again, because it's authentic. I chose people that I enjoyed to talk. I wanted to talk with in real
Mhm.
life, just like you do, right? Like, oh, I want to talk to this dude, and you talk to him, and it comes out in the interview that I really want to talk to this person, and I'm interested in what this person has to say, and it becomes this great dialogue that people are like, wow. Now our topic is of course different. We clean comedy matters. Like, why does clean comedy does it matter, and why
Right.
does it matter? So I bring on people who work clean. I think in season 2 we're going to bring on people that don't work clean,
Hmm.
so that we can kind of get a more diverse viewpoint, right?
Sure.
So let's talk to the people that don't work clean and see, well, why don't you work clean? And let's talk about the opportunities that you may have missed out on, or is it harder? And I want people that are going to be honest about it, because
Right.
sometimes people want to know you can work clean, and you can't just say, oh, I can, and you don't have any evidence. So that is what I've seen, that a lot of times people want to see evidence of you working clean. So like, if everything they see is you working blue, and they're bringing you into their company with HR, they're not finna do that. They're not finna gamble on you that you can, and then you slip up, and then now they got a whole HR issue. So anyway, that's the premise. Laughter doesn't. I say what I say. Comedy doesn't have to be foul to be funny. That's
Hmm.
that's the hook, right? Um, and we just brought people on, and I just reached out to people that I hey, and I was reaching for the stars, man. I was like, hey, you want to build my podcast? And I got a couple people from that were on Def Comedy Jam, Comic View, and America's Got Talent, and I was like, wow, it really blew me away that they were like, yeah, sure. I'm like, you don't even know me. I'm a nobody. Why would you want to come on here and talk with me? But
Surprising,
all
right?
this stuff is resonating with you. You're like, I know.
I
You're
know
like, yeah,
exactly. I know
yeah.
exactly. No, if you have the right pitch, if you have the right idea, if you have the right enthusiasm for it. I think that comes across, and then also it doesn't hurt to be a little lucky and catch people when they're like, I got nothing going on. Sure, what the hell?
Right. Right. So
That
my
helps too.
my goal, my strategy was to go after the big ones first. Because
Hmm.
if I could capture them, then it's something for other people to look at and say, oh, okay. Because it's like this is my counterpart, and they see that, oh, they did it. Okay. Yeah, I
Hmm.
might do it. So that kind of helped, that was my thought process. But yeah, I just got busy. I want to bring it back. I'll probably wind up bringing it back this fall. I saw something online that told me this was my confirmation. I need to start doing it again. They listed like the top uh, 25 podcasts that you got to be on the lookout for in 2024. And we were like maybe in the top 10,
Wow,
the top 15.
that's
And I was
incredible.
like, wow. Which
That's
blew me away because I'm like, I don't even know. I'm like, are people listening to this? Like, I don't watch the numbers, so I'm
you
like, people
gotta,
actually
yeah,
listen.
you gotta capitalize when it strike. This show, two-time back-to-back nominated Best in Entertainment Podcast Award. I mean, you damn right. I put that on the email headers. I was like, would you like to come on the two-time nominated Best in Entertainment Podcast? Like you gotta strike when it's hot.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not gonna take it personal that I was never invited. I'm not gonna take
Ah,
it.
you're not a stand-up. You're a podcast host.
First of all, once a stand up, always a stand up. I can get
You
back out there
look.
and do it.
Last time you did stand-up was what was that? Was that
Might
COVID?
might have
Ooh,
been the Carter Base thing. That might have been.
man, that was a while ago,
That's a
man.
while ago. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Though? It's like I'm like one of those picky actors that like the right project has to come
Oh, so you
along.
didn't retire, huh?
Yeah,
You like, look,
semi-retired.
okay,
I'm
it's got to
just
be the right script for
the
me to come
right,
out and
the
retire.
right project for the right reason. I'll come out and I'll do my thing, and it's all right. Now we
That
can't all
Carter
be
phase
PT
was
Brand.
that's a good reason to come out of retirement. I would be like, oh yeah, all right,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll come, I'll dust
absolutely.
off some jokes.
Uh, talk a little bit about because I really want people to check out. Thank you for your service, or I'm sorry, you're welcome for my
Yeah,
service. Let
I
me say
really
it
want
right.
people to check it out too.
Yeah,
Please,
I would hope so.
please, please check it out.
How did like walk us through it though? I mean, shit, we're already coming up almost on an hour, but this is time flies when you're having fun. But walk us through it. Like, how did that come about? How did you know this was the time? How did you make it happen? Because that's a lot to That's a lot. There's a lot to make that happen. So brag about it.
Uh, one of the comedians I did not mention that has been an inspiration to me is Kevin Hart, and a lot of people, he's not that funny, but he's a hustler, and that dude, I listened to his audiobook about how his work ethic is insane, and it really inspired me. It's like if no one else is gonna put you on, put yourself on. If no one else is gonna believe in you, you believe in yourself, and that's kind of how it came about. I did a show, and I think I did a show with Dwayne. He let me headline the show, and I did 45 minutes standing on my head, and it was great. And he afterwards said, man, he said to me, he said, you were in the pocket. He said, you were in the, it felt so, sometimes you in the flow. And I was like, I was
Mm-hmm.
in the sweet spot. It felt good. I did 45 minutes and had a ton of material left. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think I got enough for an hour. I think I got enough for an hour. So I talked to one of my comedy mentors, and he was like, do it. He was like, all of my mentors are very, very encouraging, and they was like, yeah, go for it. Like nobody was like, well, think about it and don't. No, they were like,
Why
do it.
not?
They was like, find a place that you feel comfortable, a place that you performed before, like it's an audience, a crowd that like you need to be on home field. It has to be home
Mm.
field advantage. And my wife suggested that we do it on Veterans Day. I think I don't know if no, I came up with the name. You're welcome for my service, because that's a running joke, right? People
Mm-hmm.
so thank you for your service. I'm like, yeah, you're welcome. So that's kind of how the name came about. So once we had the name, it kind of made sense. Why don't you do it on Veterans Day? And then we did it at a spot that supports veteran-owned businesses. So it was like the themes just came together. And it was a small venue, and I had looked around at some people had who had done specials. So that was the other thing too. Nick Baskerville, I gotta give him a shout out because he's always like, he keeps me grounded, right? Because sometimes we can look at like the Ali Sadiqs and be like, man, he's on this stage, this big stage, and all these lights and all these people, and like that's, you're not there yet. Find somebody like what's the pretty boy, the pretty white boy that everybody loves,
Matt Rife.
Matt Rife, right? So I looked at like his first one, and that's kind of where I took the cue from. So if you look at his first one, he did it in like an artsy type space, and they converted it, and he recorded it, and I was like, oh, I can do that at VGA. I can convert the Veterans Growing America, and that can be, we'll have a nice audience. We had like 130 people, I think it was. It felt good. It was close. The laughter, I could feel the laughs. It's a small venue, so I was close to the audience, and it was good. I mean, all the way around, right? Like I had that security for my first one, as opposed to me doing a big stage and you're far from the people, and like, and yeah, you got the lights and the smoke and that would not be. I didn't feel like that would be authentic, right? Me coming out trying to be bigger than who I am. You know what I mean? I wanted to come out and be like, hey, this is the place that I've been doing shows. These are the people that have been laughing with me. Let's start here, and then let's grow from here. So that's kind of how it came about. And yeah.
It feels authentically you. I mean, having known you for years, I can say watching that, it doesn't feel like, who's that guy? Like, where's that? Like, it felt like, oh yeah, I'm watching PT do his thing, And so I think that's the best thing you can do, right? Is be who you are. Is it going to be for everybody? No one ever is, right? Is it going to be whatever? But it's, as long as you know that I did my thing and I put out my best in it, that's all that matters. And it's going to find the people that it matters to. And we've got people in the chat saying they went ahead and purchased, and they're going to watch it after this interview. So you're already plus up on a few more.
Praise the Lord.
We're not going to go into like, so how much you get a kickback on? We're not going to go. We're not going to talk numbers.
I don't. People keep asking me like, what the numbers look like. I was like, look, we don't get the reports. A lot of people don't know you don't get the reports until like 90 days for most of the streaming platforms. So it's got to be out there for a while before they can collect the data and be able to say, hey, here's how it is doing. Now, Ali Sadiq, when he did his, a lot of people don't understand that he put his own out there. So he was able to see, like if I put it on my own YouTube, then I would be able to see how many people on the first day did. I'm not Ali Sadiq. I love Ali Sadiq, but I am not.
There's a great, oh man, there's one guy, it's like Paul Ruiz or some Spanish kid, but military veteran, and I remember seeing his first special, and it looked like he did it on like a high school, like the theater stage, you know what I mean? Where it was like curtains and everything, but it was very like, it was exposed wood and like planks that were sticking up, and it's like, but his stuff was funny, and like that's what matters. It doesn't, all the dressing and all the, I do think it's a lot of peacocking and laser lights and fire effects, and okay, cool. If you got it like that, you got it like that. But first and foremost, it should be, we should know who you are, and we should laugh. And I think that's what's most important.
It comes down to a mic and a stool. Like that's our tools, man. That's really all you need. Like I'm already thinking about the second one, and like I'm thinking about like school, right? So that was my freshman year. So my sophomore, how is that going to look? How's it going to feel? It should feel more mature, right? It should feel like I've matured. The way it's shot should feel like, okay, he's maturing. But it still should feel authentically me, right? Because people that like the first one, I want to give them more of that. So that, because that's what they expect, right? You can't come back for the second one and be like, oh, now I flipped it and I changed it up.
Yeah.
They want more of what they like. And that's, again, I'm just amazed by Ali Sadiq. So I say his name a lot. But the way that he's done this domino effect, groundbreaking, right? Like
Yeah.
he is telling his story in chapters, and he does such a great job of telling it that we can't wait to hear the next one. So he's like, oh, four is out, and boom, people are like, yeah, I'm getting it, because the way he tells it is like, that's what I'm saying. But we've come to we know what to expect
Right.
from him. So I think for young comics, you take a note, take note from that. You ain't got to be a storyteller like him, but the fact that he has built the following and he's giving them more of what they're looking for, it just makes sense, right? Like a lot of times we can't find our voice, and that's the one thing I would say to young comics: don't do your special until you know your voice. Don't waste the money. uh don't waste the time nor the money unless you know what your voice is, because it'll be a terrible thing for me to do a special and then I'm like, well, that's not really me. And then I come up with the second one and it's totally different. You're like, well, hold on, who is this? This is not what you're like, well, that's not what he was in the first one. Well, I'm still figuring it out. No, don't waste money. Figure it out first. Like, take as much time as you need to figure it out. Figure out your voice, who you are, so you can be comfortable and that people can have fun and laugh. Like, at the end of the day, the CQ, that's what you said. Did they laugh? Was it funny? Could you see that was funny? That was the goal.
That's right. And we are so in sync that my next question was, what advice would you give to aspiring comics? You already knocked that one out of the park. So let's close it up with this one. I always, when I get to talk to actors and these people and comedians, you travel, you get around, you meet a lot of people. So I'm curious if you had any fun, wild stories of just meeting a fan after a show, or just random encounter backstage, or just any fun stories from your time doing comedy.
Well, I mean, I had this about 2 weekends ago. I was in Pennsylvania, and so I'm walking up to the venue, and so my picture's on the flyer on the window, and so I'm me. So I let this guy. He's behind me. I was like, "You go ahead," and he said, "Thank you." And then he looked up and saw the picture and looked at me. He said, "Oh, hey, isn't it you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "Yeah, I see your stuff before. You funny. You real funny. I want to thank you." So that was part of it. That's part one, right? So then after the show, I'm in the back and I'm talking to another comedian, and his wife says to me, "Do you know so and so?" I said, "No, I don't know so and so. They said that you are their favorite comedian." I'm like, they must not listen to much comedy if I'm their favorite comedian. But she said that the guy would always ask her husband, who is a comedian, "Hey, you're a comedian? Do you know PT? He is hilarious." I was like, that. So that was like a sandwich of, because I know as a comedian, man, that would crush me. Like, if hey Pop, you a comedian? Do you know anybody funny? Do you know I'm a
Do you know
comedian?
real
I'm funny.
comedians?
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. If you talk about somebody famous, I I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't really have good stories. Like, if you want something messy, I don't have, like, the people I named are cool. Those are all cool celebrities. You can run the tape back. Those are celebrities that are cool with me. Cletus Cassidy is another one. Kason Wilson, like them some cool cats. I don't really mess with foolish people. Like, so if you come off with this air of I'm better than you or whatever, I ain't got time for you. I don't really have stories about those people because I stay away from them. I'm not a fanboy. And I think that's because I really want to, if I like you, I want to be around you as like a friend, not as a fan. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. I
Yeah.
I made the I got to open for PJ Walsh once, and I know
Mm-hmm.
we were both. PJ Walsh is one of the greatest guys.